Good morning. There is a minhag of putting away pieces of hametz on the night before Pesach, before we check around the house. Let's try to understand where this came from and the reason for this. So we have explained last week that the Torah prohibits us from owning hametz with two negative prohibitions and one positive one, and therefore one has to dispose of all hametz from a person's property which belongs to him before Pesach, before midday before Pesach. Now, from the Torah, according to the majority of the Rishonim, a person can nullify his ownership by declaring that he no longer wants to own it. And from the Torah, that would suffice. However, the Hachamim were concerned that either a person, if he just nullifies it and it's still around in his house, he may be tempted to eat from it on Pesach, and secondly, he may not do it wholeheartedly when he still has the hametz in his home. And therefore the Hachamim said that it's insufficient for a person to rely on the biblical law of just nullifying it, either in one's mind, consciously, or verbally. Rather, one needs to actually go around the house and dispose of all the hametz. This is what they call bi'ur hametz, to get rid of the hametz. And they said once you get rid of the hametz, you have to dispose of it. The main halakha in the Shulchan Aruch is that it's sufficient for a person just to put it in a place which is in a public place. So the examples given in the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch is you put it in the sea or somewhere like that. Nowadays, putting it in a communal bin outside suffices, or putting it in your dustbin, which is then collected before Pesach, that also suffices. And that's the halakha according to the Shulchan Aruch. The Rama writes for the Ashkenazim, and this is the minhag of also of some of the Sfaradim, that we burn the hametz, and that's an extra level. But meikar hadin, a person can suffice by disposing of the hametz in a place which is now public and communal. The Hachamim said as well, aside from disposing of it, also for a person to check his house the night before Pesach. And the reason they said to do it at night, not at day, is because at day people are busy with Pesach, and also if you do it at night, you're going to have to use a candle, and with the candle you'll be able to access the crevices in the house better. And so they said they do it at night, but if a person didn't do it at night, he still has to do it in the morning. And therefore they said to check around the house for hametz the night before, and this is a mitzvah from the Hachamim. Now, there was a discussion, what happens, and this probably arose because people ended up cleaning their houses before Pesach. What happens if a person searches their home and doesn't find hametz? A person is reciting a beracha, Hachamim instituted this mitzvah. A person is reciting a beracha, and if he doesn't find anything, is this a blessing in vain? The vast majority held that no, it's not a blessing in vain, because the mitzvah of the Hachamim was to search. If you search and don't find, that's great. The mitzvah isn't to search and to find, the mitzvah is to search, and therefore you make the beracha on that. However, there was an opinion which said that perhaps if you search and you don't find, there may be a blessing in vain. And therefore he said, in advance, someone in the house should hide some pieces of hametz, and therefore, even if you don't find any other chametz, at least you found this, so it won't be a blessing in vain. As we have said, the main halakha is that one doesn't need to do that, and one can search the house, and even if they don't find anything, that's fine, because the mitzvah is to search. But because of that, because of the opinion which said you need to find something, this developed that you hide pieces away. And the Rama, who brings this minhag down, doesn't say how many pieces. However, the custom of 10 pieces developed, both amongst the Sfaradim and, from what I understand, Ashkenazim as well. And this was clearly from the Kabbalah. And in fact, we find even earlier in the Ra'avad, one of the Rishonim, who says this practice of putting pieces away is a ridiculous minhag, there's no need for it. And however, in the Kabbalah, this idea was expressed, especially 10 pieces, corresponding to 10 different kinds of tum'ah, of impurity. And this is why we Sfaradim, generally speaking, the minhag is amongst at least the Eastern Sfaradim, based on the Kabbalah, to put aside 10 pieces. However, as we have explained, that's not the main thing. The main thing is the searching of the house. It's important that it doesn't turn into the whole thing doesn't turn into searching for the pieces, which is just there as an extra thing, as opposed to the main mitzvah, which is to search for the actual chametz in the house. That's the real mitzvah. Unfortunately, what happens often is the bedikat chametz the night before ends up being a search for 10 pieces, which is missed the whole point. It's totally not the point. The point is to search for chametz, and incidentally, because of the opinion which said that you need to find something, we put aside some pieces which later became 10 pieces. The main mitzvah is to search the night before, and that shouldn't be forgotten.